When we refer to the future of design, we often imagine that time moves forward toward the progressive advance of human society and includes greater innovation, expanded systems, and an amplified global knowledge base, among other things. And in this, we also forget that for many, regression also seems to be a desirable future. In the realm of the imaginary, design futures often range from being fantastic utopian projections that embody the euphoric and often unrealizable amplification of contemporary desires, to dystopic apocalyptic traumas embodying the magnitude of human fear. This future depends on the ways in which fictions are defined and the means by which these are materialized into future realities. This is the virtual real trajectory. One of the essential principles of architecture is that no matter how fictional our current projections, when we materialize them, they immediately become part of the fabric of reality. This is perhaps one of the greatest powers of design, that design is always about the future and that design is real. And since I tend to err on the side of the optimistic, I will use forward-thinking design in the present to frame my thinking about the future. We're transforming nature as rapidly as we're producing new forms of matter from previously acculturated artifacts. The domination of organics by technics and the technological appropriation of the natural world for the surplus products of culture was an imperative dictated by the intersection of modern industrialism and capitalism. The excessive production and exchange that drives our consumer-oriented economy, however, has exploited nature to the point of irreversible damage, while producing unthinkable quantities of cultural waste that are now literally covering our earth. One of our future challenges that will dominate the design industry is initiating the inversion of these principles through the reducing and recycling of cultural waste and the construction of new natures in many different forms. Just as steel, concrete, and glass were the new homogeneous industrial materials to signify modernity, and plastics represented the utopian futures for the 60s, for our future, one of our most important raw materials will be trash. Our future return to matter will therefore not only be through sensuous deployment of form and the atmospheric extension of design, but also through something far more primitive: the ways in which we generate processes that collect, sort, filter, pulverize, mix, melt, and modulate trash. Trash is currently our largest renewable resource and will be our new nature and our future raw matter. All inherently heterogeneous mixtures where none is more authentic than the other. It is no longer a question of simulation, but of the post-natural real. Recycled trash will become our new non-natural nature, raw, repotentialized, post-acculturated matter. We will now encounter the inversion of our modern obsession with production and consumption through the digestion and regeneration of objects. The other of production is the disassembly-reassembly process, an eco-technological model of regeneration that requires that we spend as much of our energy on the recycling of matter, form, and space as on the creative design of new objects. And at the other end of regenerated matter, we'll still expand our technological boundaries to discover super and intelligent matters such as carbon nanotubes and aerogels, whose extreme properties will exceed the framed assumptions of current design practices and push design to new limits. Matter will also become intelligent through interactive embedded technologies that expand both the use value of designed objects as well as their atmospheric qualitative effects. The micro scale of miniaturized technologies enable them to be embedded, producing a new surface material intelligence, a sensate sensibility with performative properties having applications that range from fashion to enviro-responsive building skins. Our material return to smart skin brings with it an entirely new fascination with the living that trumps the vitalist vine-like railings of Guimard and Horta and projects us into a new space of architectonic flesh. The future of design is soft rather than hard and inspired by the overlay of biotechnologies, ecologies, computation, and design. Our digital technologies will continue to evolve as they have already radically shifted from being representational tools to significant performative machines, that through the emergence of parametric processes and building information modeling and the enhanced use of computational geometry and scripting have and will continue to thoroughly transform the ways in which we both configure and conceive space and material. that our current models of space are far more continuous, variant, fluid, and complex, cellular, woven, iterative, modulated, is specifically a result of the tools that we're using to produce them. Typological stasis and structural closure are supplanted by a topological model that permits infinite mutability and differentiation. Complexity is generated through the synthetic growth of the envelope or system, which acts as a receptor, a mediator, and index of internal and external forces. Internal programmatic directives leading toward generative development and the diversification of form, and external environmental forces and constraints with which this form interacts and to which it continuously adapts. New computational tools are also starting to emulate genetic and iterative dynamic evolutionary processes. In this context, programmatic code is being used to generate new artificial natures through morphogenetic models that imagine architecture to emerge as a genetically driven organism, producing new future spatial typologies that are dependent on computer simulation of patterns of growth, form, and development. One of the largest transformations in future architectural practice will be in the realm of rapid prototyping, digital fabrication, robotics, and building information modeling. Flexible computer-controlled automation and the potential for mass-customized architectural components and mass-customized architectures will transform building practice. Linking programming to robotic production enables a complex and infinitely variable plasticity in construction generated with incredible speed and precision. And when the robotic fabrication process is overlaid with materials whose properties unfold in a temporality that is thick with duration and uncertainty, new potentials emerge for development. Prototyping processes such as 3D printing are also being tested now with multiple materials for full-scale objects, enabling a compression in the design process as we move directly from design to fabrication. New media and technologies have also enabled the evolution of emergent environments that operate in real time. Variable interactive skins, such as the disruptive patterning system of the chromogenic dwelling that changes its texture in response to climate, light, and privacy, is indicative of a larger trajectory of future responsive interactive architectures that, in direct opposition to the controlled universal environments of modernism, will instead breathe and live like us. Environmental response, filtration, and interaction will replace environmental control. Emergent environments use responsive systems to express the choreography of occupation or their response to climatic conditions through the filter of an interactive gradient field and continuous flux. Architecture is deployed as an infrastructure that organizes the variable spectra of potential material responses and that stimulates and enables the production of a multitude of atmospheric effects. At the other scale, the need to transform waste into new landscapes is producing new design territories, as well as new forms of bioremediated nature and new urban ecologies. In the future, water, rather than oil, will become one of the world's most valuable resources. The recycling of wastewater through integrated eco-urban landscapes, linking local biospheres to larger regional and global ecosystems, will become one of our most important future endeavors. In the realm of urban energy, we will move from centralized systems dependent on non-renewable and polluting energy sources to renewable resources, solar, wind, tidal, geothermal, and decentralized distributions. New architectural territories are being explored as strategic devices to capture, regulate, and recircuit the movements of water, wind, and other unpredictable fluid forces to enable new forms of amplified energy generation to be integrated into occupiable landscapes. To deal with the massive environmental impact of our industrial technologies, the city also needs now to operate as a healthy lung, where the exploration of permeable carbon capturing material filtration systems for urban aeration strategies, for example, might enable our cities to breathe again. These environmental challenges will also open up new territories for urban and architectural syntheses that might limit the eco-footprint of our farming practices through new forms of high-density urban agriculture and related new programs for a future agropolis. Given the projections that within a few decades, 85% of our world population will be living in cities, increasing the efficiencies of urban living, eliminating suburban sprawl, shrinking footprints and infrastructural demands, and intensifying urban systems and densities will be critical to sustaining global ecosystems. Urban design has never been more relevant and more necessary. Our infrastructural systems, designed to cross and colonize vast landscapes as an expression of individual freedom, make little sense in dense urban centers. Shrinking urban footprints should lead to rethinking infrastructural systems and developing new multimodal networks. These, which will replace the universal design systems approach in the age of the one-size-fits-all, will ensure that modes of transit are designed in relation to different territorial networks, living densities and speeds, and that are energy efficient and intelligently distributed. High-speed air travel and global networks and communication systems have made our world small and accessible, exponentially increasing global education, production, and tourism, while producing a new network of linked cities that expand and open territorial boundaries and increase international exchange. The shift from modern industrial gridded systems to new open complex exchange networks supports non-territorial, multidisciplinary collaborations and collective systems for circulating information, knowledge, and expertise. These will transform the ways in which we operate, allowing non-traditional crossovers between disciplines where biologists, mathematicians, meteorologists, and architects will meet and generate both new solutions to old problems and discover new design potentials that have yet to be discovered. In addition to fostering knowledge sharing, these exchange networks support new microeconomies through decentralized communication, innovation, production, and distribution models that enable open source information sharing, offshore production, remote prototyping and fabrication, high-speed distribution, and the linking of these directly to consumer networks. When everyone is potentially connected to everyone else, our patterns of knowledge and communication change. And the projection that in the future our networks would transform us into one enormous collective global mind is seemingly almost coming true. For those of us that might subscribe to the paradigm shifts we see emerging, we know that the future isn't straight ahead. It wanders, meanders, stops and starts, and spirals toward a moving target, a constellation or cloud of future design realities that we will never quite know until we finally arrive. Thank you.